know you believe that it was your baby's father who called for the welfare check, but the police have not released that information to us. So I can't speculate on who did that. It's a tough position for me to be in, knowing the history of this case and the actions of everyone involved. But I can't name drop him and assume it's him until I actually know. It was her ex-husband who clearly called for the welfare check. You've dealt with him. You have to know this yourself. It had to be him out of spite. From a personal standpoint, it's believable from what I've seen. But do you have any proof that he was the one that called for the welfare check? And then, even if you have proof that he did, it's very difficult to prove that he falsely called that report. Maybe the police can handle that, but us, we really can't.
And we don't have any proof. Like you said, the cop didn't tell you guys. Cop didn't tell us either.
She missed one of his phone calls. You're telling me right after that, the welfare check happens and it wasn't him? Who else is calling a welfare check on Junior? Who else, aside from her former mother-in-law or something, who really wouldn't do that right now with the medication that she's on? I'm remaining unbiased, and I'm just trying to ask questions to understand the situation better. But we went over the fact that he does have the right to speak to Junior in between his supervised visits with reasonable timed calls. Why was it that you did not return the phone call or, send a text to say, I'm busy?
We were in the middle of taking newborn photos. I had my phone on vibrate. I didn't see the call until after. And he didn't even give us a chance to respond really. Yes, about an hour passed, but does that warrant a welfare check? No.
Okay, again, did you send him a text during the newborn photo session saying, hey, we're in the middle of something right now? Because if he called, texted, and it went to radio silence, there is some cause for concern on his part. Not defending him, remaining unbiased, just stating why a parent might call for a welfare check if they can't reach their child.
I never sent a text and I did not return his phone call. Maybe that's my mistake. I just didn't see it as a big deal, but now I know.
It's a custody agreement, but it sounds more like this guy's our parent and we have to jump through hoops whenever he says jump. I can understand why being in a custody agreement can make you feel like you're bound to a set of rules, like you're in school, especially as the boyfriend of one of the parents. I can understand where you can feel helpless, but you have to understand, in a custody agreement, it's like two toddlers you have to share. You have to give a little. It's tough, I understand. But there has to be a give and take. There has to be some compromise. Might not be pleasant to take phone calls from him, but it's part of the agreement. This is the situation.
With all that aside, what happens now with this stuff?
Welfare check went fine. From after we spoke to the police, they said they found no red flags, nothing of the sort. So you guys don't have to worry about being in trouble in that respect. You're not getting a strike for anything. Ideally, please return his phone calls so we don't have to look into why you're ignoring him or anything like that. Please just put up with that for a while. If he calls, whatever, humor him. Again, unless he abuses the privilege, that's different. But I know you have some skepticism on whether or not he called the welfare check falsely just to antagonize things. That you have to talk to the police about. As far as we go, we're good. But our domestic household affair agent will want to speak to both of you just because we have to look into welfare checks. We have to have some checks and balances here and make sure that we cover ourselves. If the police said everything's okay with the welfare check, you're seeing that everything's fine, why do we need to be interviewed by someone else? Your son does have a social worker already with the school and things have been going good with that from what we hear. You have to look at it from our perspective here. When we are told that a welfare check was called while we are overseeing your custody agreement, we can't just, oh, okay. We have to cover ourselves. We have to follow up with that welfare check, and it's our job to make sure everything here is copacetic. Me standing here, everything's fine. I don't see any red flags. I know you guys, but Again, I have higher ups. We have policies. We have to make sure we're covering her.
It seems, look, I know it's your policies and stuff. It's nothing to do with you personally, but it's a little ridiculous to me because my son already has a social worker who checks in with us and stuff at the school. No problems there, so why do we need these extra people checking on us?
Again, we just have to look into it. The cop did say that you got angry, Brian. That type of behavior associated with a welfare check, we just have to follow up and we have to make sure everything's good. He's higher up than I am, so he has to do his paperwork and his interviews. It's out of my hands when it comes to that, but well, that's fine because I have nothing to hide. I did nothing wrong. We missed a phone call. Everything in our household is fine. It is what it is. All right, and I'll say it again. If he calls, he sends a text, whatever, just please, if it's a reasonable time during the day, just humor him so he doesn't have a reason to call for a welfare check. See? Not to throw you under the bus, but just the way you worded that sentence sounds like you also believe he was the one that called for the welfare check. Unbiased. Okay? That's no assumptions here. So please get ready for your interviews because the guy doing it is a bit of a hard ass, and I know you guys just be honest. And sorry you guys have to go through this.